My background for my sins is I'm originally from banking industry. Both parents Polish, but born and brought up for half of my life in the UK. And then 1990, I decided I wanted to find my roots. And just like in Romania, things changed in Poland. The Soviet army slowly started leaving. And I decided maybe it's a moment for me to come. And by complete chance, the first job that I got was with DHL as part of the startup team. Fun fact, my boss was the youngest CEO in the world for DHL. I was the youngest finance director. He was 29, I was 25. Fell in love with the industry to the point that I actually set up my own courier company with $5,000, which doesn't sound a lot, but it was a lot for me then, and a lot of good intentions. The company grew very fast, and by 1998, it was the #1 express carrier in Poland. I won't bore you with the whole story, but generally with some various permutations and changes, it became DPD Polska. DPD is the La Poste brand, and was the #1 carrier for many, many years in Poland. I spent about 12 years with DPD, basically restructuring or setting up businesses throughout Central Eastern Europe, including Romania. So I had the privilege of coming to Romania quite often. Bought a company in Romania, helped develop it. But after about 12 years with DPD Group, I thought, Quo Vadis, you know, what do I do next? And Amazon called and said, hey, do you want to be part of our startup team for Amazon Logistics? And I figured that, wow, e-commerce, last mile, this is a great place to be. And a few interviews, in fact, 15 interviews later, I was VP Amazon Logistics Europe, which was really great because I learned a lot of the stuff that I'm going to share with you there. Since then, I won't bore you with the whole story, but probably one thing that is relevant. After Amazon, I set up a boutique consultancy, last mile experts. And the first client that called me was a private equity called Advent International. And they said, Marek, can you have a look at this small company? It's too small for us. It's not really making money. And we're not sure. The company was called InPost. Some of you may have heard of it. At the time, it was really in trouble. Advent bought the company for under 300 million. 5 years later, I don't know if you guys know this, it was IPO'd for 8.9 billion. So I think I can add to my credentials. I think I've got a good nose for business. But anyway, you can read about me later because I guess you get a copy of this presentation. Let's talk about more interesting things. Let's talk about why e-commerce started thinking about the last mile. Because, you know, historically, all the big e-commerce players were investing in the web page to make it ergonomic, to make it exciting, to get the customer service perfect. But really, what happened at one stage, the smart guys, and Bezos is one of these smart guys, said, where do we actually touch the customer? And if you think about it, in e-commerce, the one point at which you touch the customer is in the last mile. That's where you can make or break the whole customer experience. And that's when the smart guys, like Amazon, said, hey, we need to control this much more. We cannot leave it to other people in a way that we don't control. And that's where it all started. In terms of what e-commerce wants, because there's lots of things, but if I were to choose probably the 3 or 4 most important things, the first will be capacity, the second will be capacity, and the third will be capacity. Because if you think about it, for e-commerce, if you cannot deliver the item, it's like having a sign in your window that your shop is closed. So really, really important for e-commerce is capacity, ability to deliver. Interestingly, we'll talk later about developments, but out-of-home technology, lockers in particular, make that much, much easier. You get much, much more capacity, which is one of the reasons that smart e-commerce loves parcel lockers. The second thing is quality. But when you talk about quality, it's not necessarily about being half an hour faster or half a day faster. It's about keeping your promises. Because if you buy something online, you want to know that if you're buying your child the birthday present, it's going to arrive on time. So if it's promised tomorrow, it should be tomorrow. And that's much, much more important. So when we talk about quality, it's not about a few minutes or hours early. It's about keeping your promises. And that's really important. And then the final thing that e-commerce wants is customer-centric features. I remember when we got a message when I was at Amazon from America, we want 7-day delivery. And like every courier operator, I said, no, it's not possible. We can't do it. We won't make money. But the interesting thing about Amazon is it wasn't that you have a choice. You had to do it. And surprise, surprise, it actually turned out that it worked very well because on Sundays, the roads were empty. Because Amazon had so many parcels, we could make it efficient. Normally, for a courier company, it wouldn't be so easy. So, you know, e-commerce really has changed how things develop. And we've introduced features like that. The other really important feature, has anyone heard the 3 letters IDM? I think they're the most important, interactive delivery management. That's the big change that technology has brought. And what IDM is, it's the apps that allow customers to be able to look where the parcel is, to change their mind, to decide. We won't talk too much about this today, but IDM is absolutely fundamental in giving the customer choice and control. So that's important. And the final thing, I think eMAG has this here, a subscription model. So like Amazon Prime, or in Poland, we have Allegro Smart. It's really important because customers, of course, love it. They get the feeling they get something for free. And surprise, surprise, they buy a lot more if they have a subscription type model. But why is customer experience so important? It is the best way to sell your product or service because people then talk about it. They say to their friends, hey, these guys are amazing, try them. And even in the words of Bezos, if you build a great experience, customers talk about it. And word of mouth is a very, very powerful advertising tool. So, okay, so now you know what e-commerce want. And if you think about it, even through the perspective of what is happening in logistics in our part of the world, a lot of the changes are based upon these sort of demands. If you're not convinced, don't worry, I'm not going to read all this chart here, but there was some research, and can you believe it, that a huge number of customers will choose one company over another because of the delivery options. So, in fact, in this particular, this is actually 2 or 3 years old now, but 61% of shoppers said that a good delivery experience will make them choose this site versus another. And smart guys and girls, like Amazon, like eMAG, like Allegro, will say, hey, we need carriers who are able to do that for us because we want those customers to stay with us. So it's really, really important. Okay, we talked about what the e-commerce player wants, the Amazon, the eMAG, the Allegro. What do we all want as customers? And by the way, I'm interested if someone has a different view, feel free to add. But I think companies like Amazon have educated us to be much more aware, much more demanding. It's not, 20 years ago, all we cared about was, do we get the parcel on time, undamaged? Now we want a lot more because we've been educated to learn what we can expect. And many customers, some of these things are not good. So Amazon has educated customers to expect same day, sometimes same hour. Honestly, not convinced it can be offered efficiently and not convinced it's needed for many things, but it is there. People love time slot delivery. So you don't wait at home all day for your parcel. You have a narrow time slot. In fact, the best-in-class operator in the UK, my old company DPD, has a 15-minute time slot, 1-5, which is pretty cool. One day, if you're interested, or after this, I can tell you about how it works, because it's a little bit sneaky. The second thing is alternative delivery options. So you no longer want to be tied, even if it's for a 15-minute window, to be home, because your life changes. Our lives are such, whoops, this is very bad, I should have turned this off. Probably my wife. No, luckily my courier has IDM, so he doesn't have to do that. So you want alternatives. Your lifestyle is such that, your kids may need to be picked up in an emergency or something and you won't be home. You want to be able to change where your parcel is collected from. So this is why parcel lockers and PUDOs, pick-up drop-off points, are really important. In some markets, I don't think it works in our region so well. We have something called Leave Safe, which is a service whereby, you say, this is my dedicated safe place. But I'll tell you a fun fact. When I was at Amazon, the 5th most popular safe drop place was a dustbin, which was okay as long as you didn't have the refuse collection on that day. And we used to have a few customer complaints, despite the fact the customer had requested delivery to a dustbin. But of course, Amazon being customer-centric, of course, they always paid back the money. In-flight redirection, this is really, really important. And when I talked about interactive delivery management, because our lives change, that whilst a delivery is happening, you can change your mind. You wanted a home delivery, but actually a locker is going to be more convenient. You can change your mind. That's so very, very important. The next one is something we don't want, and we should avoid it, multiple delivery attempts. Customers want it, but if we do a good job, if we deliver with interactive delivery management or with locker options, which are very, very effective, we don't need to do 2 or 3 delivery attempts because it's a waste of time and money and effort. Final thing, believe it or not, customers actually like to have consolidation of deliveries. Amazon had a product called Amazon Day, which meant you could actually say to Amazon, I only want you to deliver on Thursdays because I'm at home on Thursdays, which if you think about it, it's pretty cool because the courier company could actually consolidate, and instead of having to do 1.2, which I think is the average in most places, or 1.3 parcels per stop, they could do maybe 3 or 4. So I think there's a lot of stuff happening, but again, I'm going to come back to my 3 letters, IDM. If you think about it, this can only work really well if you have a great interactive delivery management app. Now, this is my favorite slide. Some of you, I know Aline has seen this before, but I think this is really, really cool. And we're going to talk about one company, how they've changed, I think, more than any other in the Western Hemisphere, the last mile. They want to control us. They want to make it so easy that you don't go anywhere else. If you look at how this worked, I'm a bad cook. I never know how many ounces in a cup or how many milliliters in a cup. They make everything easy. Did you notice your favorite white wine? Everything happens seamlessly. You don't have to think. Amazon does it for you, including the delivery. Even last minute, they're always there. So if you have an issue, where will you click? You're going to click on Amazon. And I think the game plan here is all about saying life is so easy when I click on Amazon, and actually sometimes I don't even need to click because the system will understand that I need something, that I won't go anywhere else. And if there's one single learning that I took from my time at Amazon is we should be doing the same in our industry. We should all the time be thinking, how can we make life so easy that if we're producing lockers like Lucian, we want the customers to say there's no one else we get the same easy relationship with. If we're a carrier, the customer should say, wow, this carrier makes my life easy. Which sounds actually quite simple, but it's not so simple. And if anyone's interested, either on LinkedIn you can find me, or you can talk afterwards, or during Q&A, I can share a little bit about how Amazon has that DNA, what happens. Okay, we're coming close to the end. This is the most important slide, I think. Where will the industry go? What is going to be new? Honestly, for those of you who know me, I'm a big, big fan of out-of-home delivery, which is PUDOs and lockers. Lockers are no longer something that's nice to have. Lockers are something that you must have. I'm really proud, personally, that sitting, when would it have been, about 6 or 7 years ago, with a very entrepreneurial young CEO from a Romanian courier company called Same Day, I was able to convince him that it's worth experimenting with something new, which was the parcel locker. Look at what's happened now. Romania has become one of the most exciting locker markets. But I think it's only the beginning. It's going to go a lot further. Lockers are convenient. Lockers are great in terms of customer experience. Probably we still need a few more of them, but they are clearly part of the trend for the future. Technology, though, is going to be even more important in making those lockers better. Can you imagine lockers that are going to be AI-powered, that can, for example, predict that something is going to go wrong? Because what is the worst thing that can happen? You go to a locker and it's not working. But imagine the AI tools tell you predictively, we could have a component that goes wrong, we change it. Imagine something like the locker recognizes you when you come up. Imagine that there is some kind of technology that the locker recognizes what you've ordered and makes sure that it's optimized in terms of where it goes. There's hundreds of permutations and combinations, and I think we're only beginning to see where artificial intelligence can help. And of course, I'm obsessed with lockers. It's not just about lockers. Everything we do in our industry, AI can help. It can help predict what you're going to order, when you're going to order, what you would want to happen. So imagine predictions that you're not home, you don't have to wait for an interactive delivery message. The system predicts what you will want to happen with that parcel. So I think this is really important. Smart locks, I don't think they're big in Romania, but in America, they really, when I say America, the US, they started taking off when I was there. So imagine you have a big item, like a car tire or a refrigerator. It's a little bit difficult still today to put that in a locker or even a Pudo. But imagine that you have an app with a camera, by the way, it costs about $300, and you can open your garage door to let the courier drop the tire or the big item. Even more, if you saw the video, people could have it to deliver their fresh items, their food. One interesting fun fact, Asa Abloy did a test with Amazon in the US, and 50 families got this smart lock and ability to let the courier come into the house. The beginning, people were very uncomfortable. They didn't feel good coming into my house. When the project ended, no one wanted to give up the app. They said it was brilliant because they saw that it worked. They saw that it wasn't just any courier. Of course, they had trusted couriers doing it. Wow, their life had changed. AGVs and EVs, we talk a lot about EVs, electric vehicles, and AGVs, autonomous ground vehicles. Of course, there are going to be more electric vehicles, but one of the things that gets me, we keep talking about ecological things, and the reality is that ecological benefit from an efficient out-of-home network is several times more important than electric vehicles, particularly given the various infrastructure issues we've got. Of course, they're great, they're part of a solution, but we shouldn't forget that they're only part of a solution. And AGVs, autonomous ground vehicles, you get the stories about the robots that are coming, that are going to be delivering parcels. And actually, I don't know if you've seen, there's a really interesting one by Boston Dynamics, which is a humanoid robot. It can actually walk up steps. Problem is, it costs several million, so it's not going to happen in a hurry. But my prediction, I'll be interested to see what you guys think, is that the first step are going to be line haul vehicles, the big vehicles overnight, they're going to be autonomous. And the second one, I predict there's going to be delivery vehicles, which will still have a human courier inside, but the vehicle will drive itself. It will go to a good location, drop off one or maybe more couriers to do the route. So watch this space, a lot's going to be happening, but I think not necessarily where we think. I cannot imagine thousands of little robots driving along the pavements, people tripping over them and having a lot of issues. Crowdsourcing is a big deal. Amazon tested it out. I was part of the project. It was called On My Way. They then called it Amazon Flex. And the other company that is very dynamic in this space is Vinted. I guess I think Vinted have a business here. And they bought a company called Homer in Holland, which is exactly that sort of thing. Private people who have time and space who want to offer a service. So I think this is going to be important. Smart cities, urban hubs, the whole thing about the sharing economy. Smart cities need to get more involved. They can either work with us or against us. In our part of the world, honestly, I think you've got the same based on my discussions. Cities are not close enough to us. They actually cause more issues than help. Albeit, I have to say, in Poland, one smart city called Łódź actually decided they wanted to be a next generation city. They gave InPost 80 locations for free to put lockers. So it's beginning to change. Re-commerce, I talked about Vinted. Re-commerce is another big thing. The fastest growing part of e-commerce is actually re-commerce. And it's partly because of the fact that, we've gone through various moments of economic crisis and so on. And also people are beginning to think, do we really need to keep buying new things? Can we buy something that's almost new online? The interesting thing about re-commerce for all of you here is it cannot work with home delivery well because of the cost of the item and home delivery. Re-commerce loves out-of-home delivery, lockers and PUDOs. So if I were any carrier looking at out-of-home delivery, I'd make sure that I have a very good contact with the re-commerce people. Final thing, white gloves. Now, white gloves is not a courier in a very smart suit with white gloves delivering a parcel. It's about the big, heavy, bulky stuff. And e-commerce needs solutions for it. And it's a really difficult thing to do. Some people are testing XXL lockers. It solves part of the problem, but the customer still needs to come with a van to pick up the item from this big locker. So I think it's going to be more about finding good solutions, maybe with smart locks for home delivery. But maybe there's something else. My last slide before I go to Q&A with you or ask whether you've got anything that you'd think about is, what is the dream? And the dream actually is this. If you look at the perhaps not perfectly AI-generated picture, but that's you and me in the middle. That AI creates an ecosystem whereby we don't need to do too much. Everything is at our fingertips. And the dream scenario is many of the solutions, we don't even have to do anything because the AI knows what we want. Amazon started doing some of it without AI, and what they did, they asked us what our preferences are. And they had it in line, so they knew, for example, if I'm not home, this is what I want to happen. But imagine that we have AI that is even better than that. It almost thinks like we do. What do we need to do in a given situation? So my dream is that we're there in the middle. We have all the technology, whether it's going to be drones or AGVs or whatever else, that the technology allows the carrier to do what we want in a dynamic and interactive way. Will take a bit of time, but as you saw from the video, which was made 10 years ago, things are moving very, very fast. And I promised I won't say what, but talking to Lucian, some of the stuff they're thinking about now really is in this direction.